Iron Rattler is a hybrid roller coaster located at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. The manufacturer is Rocky Mountain Construction, better known as RMC, and the designer is Alan Schilke. Opening in 2013, this coaster was their second ever coaster made with the patented iBox track. I remember when this coaster first opened and we were already wowed by what they did with the new Texas Giant over at Six Flags over Texas. Crazy how we thought it was wild to see an inversion on what used to be a wooden coaster. Little did we know that was just the beginning of the innovations RMC brought to the industry. You can tell coming from the new Texas Giant, RMC was realizing their potential when they built Iron Rattler. Compared to rides like Steel Vengeance, Iron Gwazi, and Zadra, Iron Rattler may seem a bit tame, but you can say that Iron Rattler walked so the others can run. Iron Rattler is located on the far east side of the quarry wall, right next to Roadrunner Express and across from Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger. It's cool to see how the ride utilizes the quarry wall. This, in my opinion, qualifies this as a terrain coaster considering a good chunk of the ride is on top of the quarry. When you enter the queue, you walk under the ride sign as well as pass by a cool rattlesnake fountain. Walking up to the ride consists of many switchbacks that slowly takes you up the station. You don't realize how high the station is until you take the Flash Pass entrance, which is nothing but a long set of stairs that takes you directly to the station. It's one heck of a climb. Upon entering the station, you have a choice of 12 rows with 2 seats per row. The train itself has a very cool design, and I like the snake in the front. As far as the restraints, these may be my favorite restraints on an RMC. The trains are made by Gerstlauer, and they are by far more comfortable than the current restraints RMC uses. The restraints rest on your lap nicely, and you feel secure throughout the entire ride. The ride-ups did a good job moving the trains as well. I returned back to the park on a Monday after attending their coaster event that following weekend. They were running one train that day, but they were dispatching that train pretty quickly. The line kept moving and I was impressed. When you leave the station, you head out and make a left towards the lift hill. This is where you interact with riders from Roadrunner Express. Fun fact, this version of Roadrunner Express was also designed by Alan Schilke. You then proceed to climb the 175 feet lift hill, providing some good views of the park. Once you crest the hill, you experience one of the craziest first drops RMC designed. As you drop, you whip to the left, and then when you get to the bottom, you whip to the right. As you're rising again, you hit a bank to the left heading towards the first airtime moment. That is by far one of the craziest beginnings I've experienced on a roller coaster. The amount of laterals from the top to bottom of the first drop is insane, especially in the back row. As you're rising up, you encounter an upward hill on top of the quarry, providing a good pop of ejector. The element is followed by a left overbank turn. I would call it a wave turn, but it really doesn't provide anything but as a transition for the next element. You come across a downward bank turn diving from the quarry wall and rising to the one and only inversion, the 0G roll. It's a pretty nice and floaty element and it takes us back to the top of the quarry wall. I thought this section overall was fine, although there were some sections where it didn't do anything for me. Right after the 0G roll, you hit an airtime hill. This hill gave some surprisingly good ejector. After that, you're hit with back-to-back bank turns, one to the right and one to the left. Again, these turns did absolutely nothing for me. After that, you hit a small bunny hill that gives a nice pop of ejector, and then you hit the finale, the dive off the quarry wall. It was a great moment, but I would be lying if I didn't say I was expecting more. It reminds me a lot of Iron Gwazi's final drop, which is not a bad thing, because it has plenty of ejector going down, but I was expecting the drop to be a bit more sustained considering you're dropping from a literal cliff. Maybe my expectations were too high, but it's still a great moment nonetheless. After the drop, you fly through a tunnel, which is super fun on night rides, and then you come up and make a hard right into the brake run. The way you're flung into the brake run makes it one of the craziest endings to a ride. One thing for sure, Iron Rattler knows how to start and end a ride with a bang. If you're enjoying this review, give this video a like and consider subscribing to Coasters and Travels. Your support goes a long way. The things I like about Iron Rattler. The first drop really sets the tone for the rest of the ride. It's great in all rows, but the back row is where it's at. The ride has some good ejector airtime. This may be an earlier RMC coaster, but the airtime feels just as insane as the newer RMCs. If you're a bigger person, you'll love the trains as it caters to the bigger riders much better than the current trains. They are overall more comfortable and less restrictive on the legs while still providing a secure and safe ride. The finale is a great way to end the ride. Diving off the quarry wall provides some great ejector on the way down, and flying through the tunnel into the brakes is just plain fun. The brake run is insane. The amount of laterals you get turning to the brake run is crazy. Finally, the ride is very smooth. Like all of the other iBox coasters I've ridden, the train moves gracefully across the track and all of the elements transition well with each other. What don't I like about Iron Rattler? You can tell this was an earlier RMC coasters as the bank turns didn't really do much. It felt more like filler elements than anything. The pacing isn't quite there compared to the newer RMCs, and I'm mainly talking about the quarry wall section. It's not that bad at all, but the pacing does suffer a bit. Finally, the ride is on the short side. This is not really a dislike since Iron Rattler is very rewritable. The dislike is going to be walking up those switchbacks. It can be a hike going through them each and every ride. Even though this is an earlier iBox model, Iron Rattler is still a fun RMC with great moments from beginning to end. If you visit Six Flags Fiesta Texas, make sure to give this ride a go, as I think this is the best roller coaster in the park by far, and you won't be disappointed. Even with its drawbacks, this is still an RMC coaster, and they all provide a superior ride regardless of its size, length, or year it was built. I give this coaster a ranking of 4.5 out of 5.